Today on Locked on Rockies. Well, we were wondering if the Rockies were going to go with a young catcher duo, but not the case. Jacob Stallings returns to the Colorado Rockies in a move that I think is the right one.
You are Locked on Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked on Rockies podcast for today, the 21st day of November. I was about to say October, flashing us back in time, but no. We move only forward here as time marches on here in the old world. And here on the Locked on Rockies podcast, I am Paul Holden, your host of the Locked on Rockies podcast, your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk for over 3 seasons now. Been loving this team my entire life. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Jacob Stallings returning to the Colorado Rockies. A couple of fall league highlights, especially some big statistical performances here pointed out by MLB.com. And we'll read a couple of comments from the YouTube comment section, as we are known to do, because if you want to be part of the show, if you want to fire off your Rockies hot takes, if you want to let me know what's on your mind, I want to hear from you, Rockies fans. Head on over to the Locked on Rockies YouTube comment section. Fire off your Rockies hot takes. Let me know what's on your mind, and that's what we'll do. We'll talk about it. We'll talk. So what we do around here, talk Rockies baseball. Free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked on Rockies YouTube channel, where, like I said, you can be part of the show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can roll through the NFL season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, the Rockies re-signing Jacob Stallings here. It was a little under the radar. It was something that wasn't going necessarily it was kind of up in the air. I mean, it was taking a little bit longer. It wasn't something that was done as soon as we thought, but still was a possibility as well. And this is something that this will be the right move for the Rockies. I truly do think that the decision to have gone with just Goodman and Romo, I don't think would have led to enough success from that position. I think having the veteran guy help out here is going to be a big help, especially when you're considering health factors. Catching is very difficult. And if you're Stallings, he brings this up in this piece over here by Thomas Harding. Stallings returns to Rockies on deal with option for 26. So the deal guarantees Stallings $2 million, while the option is worth $2 million and carries a $500,000 buyout. A source told MLB.com's Mark Feinsand, but the club hasn't confirmed the value of the deal. Stallings, who turns 35 on December 22nd, set full season career highs in batting average, OBP, slugging. The batting average was 263, the OBP was 357, and the slugging was 453. OPS 810, home runs 9, in essentially 50% of the playing time at the position. Brought in to share time with veteran Elias Diaz in 24, Stallings will catch in tandem with a younger partner in 25. Hunter Goodman, a rookie last year, and rookie's number 8 prospect Drew Romo received playing time in 2024, mostly after Diaz was released in mid-August. He finished the season with the Padres. Willie McIver, Braxton Fulford will be vying to make their major league debut. A Gold Glove winner with the Pirates in 2021, Stallings has embraced catching in a shared role. Stallings turned down a mutual option after the season, but the plan was for him to re-sign. It was a fun year, Stallings says. The familiarity of knowing the guys and knowing the coaches and knowing the front office like that was a huge factor. My kids made friends, and you just build the relationships. That was a huge draw to Denver, and I felt great about my year. I would love to build on the offensive success that I had, and it really helped that take the next step forward. It showed in our play toward the end of the year. Stallings also upheld his defensive reputation by throwing out a career-high 12 runners, attempting to steal 12th most amongst NL catchers, despite his part-time duty. Thank you, Thomas, for the breakdown there. Thomas Harding, Stallings returns to Rockies on deal with option for 26. That is over on MLB.com. And see, again, this is the Jacob Stallings move the one that's going to, blow the doors off, really move the needle, really change things, and really drastically move things for the Rockies? No, But it does give the Rockies a veteran presence behind there, someone that kind of understands the assignment, understands where he's at, and understands the role that he's playing. He knows that he's making way for the future at the position, but he's also providing the stability that the Rockies need there. Remember, Jacob Stallings turned out to be one of the more solid pieces of the Rockies there towards the end of the year. He certainly, again, didn't blow the doors off anything, but with that batting line is still pretty darn good when it comes to just being a part-time player as well. And I think that there's no reason for me to believe that it can't carry over here, especially when you're looking at the fact that he was one of those veterans that yet again came to Colorado and had his best season statistically. Outside of his 2021 campaign where he won the Gold Glove, this is the second best season overall that he's had in his career last year with the Rockies. It was 1.7 WAR compared to 3. So obviously a drop off by half, but there's some good defensive upside here. The Rockies will need a veteran catcher to make sure that things kind of stay a little bit more in control in some tight ball games. You're going to need a veteran catcher to make sure that he's working with young arms in the bullpen, keeping them in the games, keeping them focused. Is Stallings going to end up being the best catcher in baseball? Is he going to be an all-star? Probably not. But he is going to give the Rockies veteran leadership at a spot where you need to have veteran leadership. Catching is one of the most, if not the most difficult position on the field when you're talking about everything that it goes for. And it needs to be a position where you're going to get production out of it. And if the Rockies were to just go Romo and Goodman, and they were riding through a situation in which they're not getting any production from them, they're both experiencing down months, that's going to get in the way of the Rockies. It's not to say that Jacob Stallings isn't immune from bad stretches or anything like that, but we're not counting on Jacob Stallings as an everyday guy. I'm still looking at this year being a big year for Drew Romo. On the flip side, I do think playing time and I think a spot on the field and opportunities for Hunter Goodman did just get more limited, and that might be a problem. I mean, that is going to be something. Now, Stallings could be moved at the middle of the year. It's only a 1-year deal. There is that option for the next year, but you don't need to overcommit to Jacob Stallings. Just if the 1-year deal is perfectly fine with Jacob Stallings, you just if teams are interested in the middle of the season, I think you make that move, because middle of the season, say Rockies are 10 games below 500 or 10 games out of the wild card or something, a position they realistically can be in come trade deadline time. It's just like when you had Elias Diaz last year. It's like Elias Diaz would have been traded, not released, if he stayed healthy. I think you can sit there and be frustrated because the Rockies didn't trade Elias Diaz. The Rockies were probably unable to make that move because of the fact that he got hurt. Elias Diaz had enough value, clearly, that he got claimed. He was on the Padres. Anyway, but if you get to that position, you can open up the door for that second half to go with that younger catching tandem. I think if you're only going the half the season with Goodman and Romo as your primary catchers, you'll be okay. I think the full season, I think Stallings can help get your pitchers, help get everybody off to the right start. Having the veteran presence behind the dish, having a veteran catcher be able to help you navigate the beginning of the season, mixed with an ambition to be a better offensive player, where Stallings, again, did contribute on offense for the Rockies there. Didn't blow the doors off anybody, but he did come up clutch in certain situations. In the last 30 games that Stallings played, he had 98 at-bats in that time, 27 hits for a 276 batting average, an OBP of 366, slugging of 510. Walked 9 times, drove in 17, hit 5 homers. 5 of his 9 homers came in his last 30 appearances there for the Rockies. And again, 29 strikeouts, still something that is an issue there. But when you compare and you look, only 65 strikeouts on the season for Stallings there. Played in 82 games. So the strikeout rate certainly it helps the Rockies adding a veteran that doesn't strike out as much. It's still obviously a factor, but the point is this is an okay move. This is a fine move. Again, it's not the most exciting move. It's not the most ground shaking move. But getting veteran stability at a very important position is a good call. However, I am nervous about what this means for Hunter Goodman, because now right field is really just the only spot that feels open for anybody to get some playing time at this point. And that's going to complicate things. And it's going to complicate things for Hunter Goodman as well. We'll talk about that coming up next in today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. FanDuel's got you covered here with all the NFL action, and get ready to tackle all that NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And remember to please play responsibly. This is the Locked on Rockies podcast. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked on Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. Rocking, rolling here through the offseason with you all here on the Locked on Rockies podcast. Shout outs to our everydayers out there. Shout outs to all you tuning in and joining the show. Remember, be part of the show. Let me know what's on your mind. Fire off your Rockies hot takes. Head on over to the Locked on Rockies YouTube comment section. Make sure you're liking the videos. Make sure you're subscribed to the Locked on Rockies YouTube channel. Fire off those Rockies hot takes. Let me know what's on your mind. So we're talking about the Jacob Stallings and Rockies reunion there. And again, low impact, low money, low crazy move there with the option of potentially even being able to flip him there depending on the interest at the deadline. All upside here. The biggest downside of Stallings returning to the Rockies, I don't know when Hunter Goodman is going to play. Hunter Goodman now has joined a long list of Rockies that want playing time in right field. Joining a long list of Rockies that are fighting for that spot, are fighting for playing time, are fighting for at-bats. The Rockies roster, off the top of my head, is just about solved outside of right field. If I had to take a guess at the starters for opening day, I think right field is the only one where I'm not sure. Now, if the Brendan Rodgers or Cal Quantrill deals, if those actually do pan out, like the some of the rumors have pointed to, then we'll see how that changes. But the big upside I was thinking about if the Rockies did not reunite with Stallings, even though it was still seemed like this was all part of the plan originally, was the playing time for Goodman. Goodman joins the long list of players looking to get that right field spot. Bouchard, Beck, Veen is now on the 40-man roster. I mean, who knows? What does a strong spring for Zach Veen look like? Actually, we had a comment there we'll probably dive into more of on Friday. But as I've said before, and as I will continue to say, the important part of this upcoming season is getting the young guys at-bats and experience as they need. And unfortunately for Hunter Goodman, he likes to catch. He feels better as a catcher, he says, but you're just in a tough spot. You're in a tough spot there. You're not going to go with one of your top-ranked prospects and not continue to give him that consistent playing time so he can continue to grow and develop into a good catcher. And I don't necessarily know if Hunter Goodman's going to have the tools to win that right field job right away. And the problem when you're taking away the playing time from any of those young guys in right field, it's less opportunity for him. We just talked about what are the Rockies going to do with Greg Jones? They traded for Greg Jones. What are they going to do for him? How are they going to get Greg Jones on the field? How are they going to get Hunter Goodman on the field? How are they going to get Beck on the field? How are they going to get Bouchard on the field? There are 4 or 5 guys all competing for just one spot for 4 at-bats a game because they're not going to be sliding into the DH spot anytime soon to just get at-bats, right? I mean, Chris Bryant's there. Chris Bryant, until injured, is probably going to be the Rockies' primary DH. So that eliminates another position there. And if you go through all of the positions outside of right field, you can basically put in a starter. Nolan Jones, Brenton Doyle, Ryan McMahon, Ezekiel Tovar, Brendan Rodgers, Michael Toglia. Romo Stallings combo behind the dish. Right field is the only position that's up in the air right now for the Colorado Rockies. And now, if you're a player like Goodman, your opportunity to get on the field just got smaller. Injuries do happen. You're obviously not rooting for injuries, but injuries are a part of the game. So there will be opportunities elsewhere. But if you're the Rockies, you're sitting there and saying, we can't afford we want Nolan Jones to go back to it. We are high on what Nolan Jones can be, but does Nolan Jones get a shorter leash so that these other guys can get in there? Is Nolan Jones not going to have the same amount of, are we able to sit here and confidently say that Nolan Jones is the starting left fielder for the Colorado Rockies? Is he in a position battle there at left field? I guess we'll see. But that's my main drawback from this, because I don't think the money for Stallings is crazy. It's a 1-year deal. I think Stallings did plenty enough to contribute. And I do like the fact that when you have a young bullpen this year, you have a young catcher that needs to continue to learn and develop, you need to have a veteran presence there. And I'm glad the Rockies do in Jacob Stallings, but it certainly does complicate things across the board for other players and for getting playing time for specific guys that need to see the field this year. So there's that. All right. Hey, quick update here from the Arizona Fall League. And this is from Jesse Borick on the MLB.com. 8 stats to remember from the 2024 Arizona Fall League. And let's just go here. Anytime you go the length of an entire season without allowing a hit, you're doing something right. Sure, Evan Justice appeared just 9 times for Salt River, but he came just 1 out shy of throwing a combined no-hitter all on his own. Equipped with the new-look sinker, the Rockies southpaw posted a dazzling 0.000 average against, throwing the most innings, 8 2/3 of any pitcher who ever finished the circuit without giving up a hit. His 0.12 whip wasn't too shabby either. For good measure, Justice closed out the AFL championship game with, you guessed it, a hitless 9th inning. Folks, when you can do stuff that raises eyebrows at the Arizona Fall League, that is important. The Arizona Fall League it's not the ultimate test, obviously, but it is certainly an opportunity for players to flex against some other really, really exciting names in the world of baseball, mixed with other coaching, other philosophies, all sorts of good stuff. And when a Rockies pitcher throws 8 scoreless innings and only, 1 hit that he allowed? No hits that he allowed in that entire time? That is awesome. That is a great, great sign. And again, still plenty to go there. And Justice did appear with the Rockies in 1 game last year, so did make it up to the majors last year. So a name to keep your eye on as the season goes there, especially with that's a great way to set yourself up for your offseason prep as well, to go through the Arizona Fall League and to go that. Again, only 8 1/3 inning pitch, only 8 appearances there, certainly, but that's the job of reliever, right? What way to be more pumped than as a reliever than to come out and throw some scoreless innings there for against really, really good competition. So let's see. There was also one more here. While every batter steps into the box with the goal of getting a hit, Ryan Ritter was actually getting better at getting hit by the pitch rather than connecting with his bat. getting plunked 7 times versus his 6 base hits gave rise to one of the odder-looking slash lines in fall league history: 150, 477, 350. In addition to his why am I struggling? I'm just gonna skip. Is that funny? Is that sometimes you're reading, and there's something that just gets you? Even in addition to his propensity to wear one from the opposition, the Rockies' number 12 prospect also drew as many walks as he struck out, 18 walks. Drew nearly as many walks, 18, as he struck out, 19. He missed a stretch of 2 weeks due to injury, then promptly slugged a walk-off homer in his return. And while the stats won't officially count, the 24-year-old ended his year with back-to-back multi-hit games to help Salt River seal its title. Development that you like to see: walking, strikeouts, pitch recognition. It's a tough life to be a ball player that gets their work, that gets their money off of being hit by pitches too. That's not something that is completely foreign to some people when they make it to the majors. Obviously, it's probably got to hurt a lot, and you if you're already dealing with some injuries, and then you got to deal with getting plunked all the time, that certainly is going to be a problem. 19 strikeouts, of course, still something you're not pumped on. The batting line is still a little worrisome. But when you're talking about things that you love to see for a Rockies hitter's approach, though, is the ability to draw walks, is the ability to get on base. That is crucial. And again, you can work on it. It's still stuff, but still coming up, getting on base, and then, hey, when your opportunity came up, you hit a huge couple of multi-hit games that help you win a title, and a walk-off homer when you return from injury. Good plus signs there. And again, that's a good sign for going through development, right? You don't want to just sit there and say, oh, look at all this. As much as you want to sit there and say they're blowing everybody away, they're doing so good, they're doing all this. It's good to see that there is some room to grow, but in the areas that the Rockies really need success, the areas the Rockies have struggled in, walking, getting on base in that matter, pitch selection, that type of thing. It's encouraging to see some of the young guys get after it and get going there. You want to see more hits, certainly, but when you miss 2 weeks too, that's going to help you and limit your opportunities as well. Arizona Fall League ain't that long, so that's a substantial part of the season when you're thinking about that. But I love to hear cases of higher walk rates, of walking as much as you're striking out. And I mean, hey, I think if you're willing to wear it, if you're willing to sacrifice the body, if you're willing to take those hits, it's a good sign of confidence as well. That's a good sign of someone that can sit in the box and they're not afraid of the pitch coming at them. They're not afraid of what's happening, and they can go out there and face the opposition head on there. So thank you for that Fall League update there from MLB.com. Plenty more to read about there from Jesse Borick. 8 stats to remember from the 2024 Arizona Fall League. That's on MLB.com. That's from yesterday, so you can go check that out there. All right, let's take a quick break, and then let's finish the show with a couple of YouTube comments. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast, for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. I am Paul Holden, your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk. And remember, if you want to be part of the show, if you want to fire off your Rockies hot takes, let me know in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section, just like all these folks did that we're about to do. But before we dive into that, a reminder, Locked On MLB, perfect for your second listen of the day. Let's read. This one's from a little bit ago, but this YouTube comment relates very well to what we were talking about today. This is from Jordan Ambron here. While I love letting the kids play in Romo and Hunter, I worry that 2 inexperienced catchers will be overwhelmed at the MLB level. Romo should get a majority of the playing time, especially in the second half of the season as he matures and takes on a bigger role. However, you need a veteran to teach him about pitch selection and in-game management. I like the idea of Gary Sanchez or any veteran as the backup/DH, while Romo and occasionally Goodman take on the bulk of catching time. The Rockies do have Brady Farkas, who has MLB experience, and maybe that's enough to learn from for Romo and Hunter if the Rockies go with the young guys. What I don't want to have happen is Romo not seeing the field and not develop. I want Romo to get a minimum of 300 ABs this year and 50% plus of the playing time. Yeah, agreed there, Jam Brown. Couldn't that nails it on the head there. Even with this Stallings thing, the goal still has to be Romo. Romo has to be the top priority when it comes to the catcher position this year for the Rockies. I do think supplementing with the veterans the right move. I do think getting a bull, not only teaching Romo, but being there for the bullpen guys. A lot of young on this team that certainly will benefit from veteran at the catcher position. A very, very important position here. Here's what TK says. Can you imagine if they land him? This is in reference to Soto going to the Dodgers after meeting with the Dodgers there. Can you imagine if they land him? It's easy to say this kind of stuff is bad for baseball, but the Dodgers are doing what the Dodgers can. And that is true. I mean, you can be upset at how it works. You can be frustrated by the process, and all of that makes sense. But you can't sit there and fault the Dodgers for they're playing the game. They are using their advantages, and it's just like what I wish, and we've seen some examples of. I wish the issues with salary and differences in baseball bred more innovation for teams. I think the Rays becoming the Rays of today directly relates to the fact of how long they spent in the AL East in a dominated division by the Yankees, who were buying up everybody. Then the Red Sox were following suit, and mixed with now an Orioles team that has had goes up, goes down, does these waves. So I think the Rays were looking for a creative way to keep up with recognizing the issues that they face as a team with attendance and yada yada yada, going up against a team that has infinite resources. I wonder if that sounds familiar at all to you as Rockies fans. But there is some frustrating stuff with salary. It is frustrating when there are certain teams in certain areas that just do have more clear advantages in areas than teams like the Rockies, and they can use that to better their teams. It is also just how the league is set up. So I'm with you, TK. Here's Ghastly Magician. First off, the Yankees landing Soto, no, just no. I had to live through the era when the Yankees are doing what the Dodgers are currently doing, and anything is better than that. I believe, though, a salary cap would add some parity to baseball, and that would be a good thing. I would rather see a more equal playing field where a variety of teams can compete year in and year out and have a shot at the World Series, rather than be subjected to the same teams year after year because their owners can open their pocketbooks more. Yeah, I think that you will get that. And I think it's interesting because to respond to a lot of, I think, the concerns and the issues that people were having with the no salary cap, with the money, with the way the playoffs and stuff used to work with baseball, was the expansion of the playoffs. And I'm of the vote that I love the expanded playoff format. I think it does. If you need to make sure that you're giving teams a shot at the postseason. And if you were to go with the old rules, when you're going to go with the old ways the team makes the playoffs, when you're going to go with that limited, then you would have to make an adjustment with the salary cap. You would have to make an adjustment there because I would agree. And we have seen that before. You couldn't allow if the usual teams and the usual things, it would create a very, very, very stale product. I don't care what you want to say about markets. I don't care what you want to say about ratings. I really don't care about any of those excuses. I think it's a good thing when the Rangers and Diamondbacks meet in the World Series, because those teams had opportunities. Those teams went through gauntlets. And yes, it wasn't Yankees, Dodgers. We want the biggest and best. I understand that. But by opening up the playoffs and giving these teams a shot, and by making these high payroll teams prove it, demonstrate it, do it in the playoffs, I think that does help make the product better. I think that does make things, evens the playing field a little bit. Because, yes, the regular season's one thing, but I think it's a good thing that good teams have struggled in the playoffs. Because I think it's lame that great teams can come in and too much time off, blah, blah, blah. No, it's the playoffs. Anything can happen. 7 games. You have a 7-game series, to play. And if you're a high payroll team, you should be able to just mop the floor with everybody, right? Doesn't always work that way. I do think eventually, though, there will be something that changes with salary in baseball. I don't know if they'll ever do a salary cap, but I do think eventually it's going to be, they're going to come to a point where they can't allow they can't continue to go in a league where the Dodgers and Yankees exist while the A's and the White Sox are doing what they're doing as well. Plain and simple. Or the Marlins. I mean, there are teams that just, I mean, they are brutal when it comes to salary. So, all right, folks, that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Would love to answer more Rockies questions, more comments there for Friday's show. So please fire them off here in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. Be part of the show. Let me know what's on your mind. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB with our guy Sully. He's got you covered with all things Major League Baseball. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, all free and streaming on your favorite streaming services as well. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.